For quite some time, Bill Gates was known to many as the richest man in the world, but he recently saw his net worth decrease to a mere $96.4 billion because of his efforts to give back to the less fortunate. And although this position of his has now been taken by Elon Musk of Tesla fame, there's no doubt that the man still has a few expensive assets in his possession. But what are these assets, and why did he decide to spend his hard-earned money on them? Well, whether you're a fan of the Microsoft mogul or just want to know more about the type of things that rich people spend their money on, stay right where you are, as we're about to explore some of Bill Gates' most expensive possessions. So, strap yourselves in and get ready to feel some jealousy as things are about to get interesting. But before we get into it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on any of the new videos we post. Number 1. Real estate. When it comes to the wealthiest people in the world, they always share one thing in common with another, which is having a large selection of homes coming in at extravagant prices. Home is where the heart is after all, and if you have the option to have more than one, then why not take it, right? It also makes sense to invest money in the real estate market, as homes are about the only common asset which don't depreciate as time goes by. This means that the property in question can usually be sold at a later date for a much larger price than it was originally purchased. And this is especially relevant when it comes to Bill Gates. Think of how many people would want to own a home that he used to live in. So when it comes to his real estate portfolio, it is exactly what you would expect from a billionaire philanthropist. Although he has quite a few mansions spread across the United States, he tends to spend most of his time at his home in Medina, Washington, which was said to be worth around $123 million US. It took the technological wizard about 7 years total to have this mansion built, which takes up 66,000 square feet in its entirety. And as you can expect, he also fitted this mansion with some of the greatest technological wonders of our time. This has improved the value of the property from the original amount of $2 million, which is what he paid for the plot of land when he bought it back in 1988. Gates also purchased a 228-acre Rancho Pass Ends mansion in October of 2014, which comes complete with a racetrack, guest house, office, veterinarian, sweet orchard, and 5 whole barns. The horse farm was originally purchased from weight loss tycoon Jenny Craig for $18 million, but there's no doubt that Gates has already increased the value of the ranch tenfold. And this is by no means the only horse farm that he owns, with another being situated in Wellington, Florida, which he purchased for around $8.7 million. Suffice it to say, the man's property portfolio is simply too long to mention everything, and it must be said that some purchases have even been kept on the down low. The purchase price of the Wyoming ranch that once belonged to Buffalo Bill Cody, for example, was paid by Gates but never disclosed to the public. Considering that the ranch was an insane 492-acre plot, who really knows how much the mogul ended up paying to secure ownership? Either way, Gates has quite a few homes to choose from. Number 2, the Xanadu 2.0 guest preference system. To round off his incredible Washington estate, which has come to be called Xanadu 2.0, Gates built an elaborate series of pools to give off an impression of both calmness and wealth. Beginning with a gentle waterfall, the waters cascade into a natural lagoon of about 60 feet. Better yet, a building of around 3,900 square feet has been built underneath the pool, which means that guests are actually able to swim underneath a glass wall and come up to the terrace area on the outside. And since the worst part about swimming at a party is diving underwater and missing out on your favorite song, Gates made a plan by installing a state-of-the-art underwater music system. This propagates the music playing throughout the pool and allows guests to listen to it while swimming underwater. The building in question comes complete with locker rooms, showers, baths, and a lounging area, which are all brought together by an expensive fossil motif floor. The various rooms in his home have also been fitted with a particular guest preference system, which changes the temperature, music, and lighting of a room depending on the guest's specific preferences. How does a room determine what a guest's preferences are? Well, upon arrival, the guests of Gates are actually given a little pin that has their specific preferences programmed into it. It's this pin that connects to the room's sensors and brings about a change depending on who is currently within it. Each room in the home has also been fitted by a touchpad from which a number of changes can be made depending on what a guest may feel like on a particular day. And although this is usual for most smart homes today, what makes this arrangement special is that Gates has had it since 1995, which makes his mansion a historical landmark of sorts. Of the $60 million it took to build the mansion, there's no doubt that quite a bit of the budget went towards the building of these impressive guest preference systems. Number 3, dynamic artwork. While on the topic of the guest preference system, it must be said that guests are also asked to input their favorite artists and art styles before entering his home, with their pins then causing the artwork around the home to change according to their specific preferences. The artwork can also be changed with the push of a button. Situated around the mansion are around $80,000 worth of computer monitors, which are connected to a system of interconnected wires and storage devices, which house all the artworks you could ever think of. Connect this to the guest preference system that communicates with the guest's pin, and you have yourself the greatest dynamic art system in all of history. It's not just electronic art that Gates enjoys, though. With real portraits being just as valuable to him as his system of changing art, the portrait titled "Lost on the Grand Banks," as painted by Winslow Homer, hangs outside the wall of his home library and was bought for around $36 million back in 1998. Another piece titled "Room of Flowers," as painted by Childe Hassan, was also purchased by Gates for what is assumed to be $20 million or so. And when it comes to fine art and historical significance, there is no better than the Codex Leicester, a signed journal that was both written and illustrated by the one and only Leonardo da Vinci. And you'd be right in assuming that this incredible piece was also bought by Gates for around $30.8 million. Suffice it to say, the man has enough to open his own museum. Number 4. Traveling in style. In an interview with Ellen DeGeneres a few years ago, Gates said that he doesn't believe he has made quite as many extravagant purchases since becoming a millionaire as people might think, but that he did decide to purchase a private jet, which can be considered to be impressively expensive, referring to it as his guilty pleasure and biggest splurge. A more detailed description would describe it as a Bombardier BD-700 Global Express. Those who know a bit about airplanes will be able to tell you that it can seat up to 19 people and comes with a price tag of around $40 million. This is obviously not including jet fuel, which costs more than a pretty penny to use on a regular basis. The Global is actually considered to be the business jet with the second largest cabin in the world, and is used by a few world militaries. In the private sector, however, it is often classified as the most luxurious private jet on the market. Gates also purchased a Porsche 911 Turbo in 1979, which caused him to be pulled over quite a few times because of the insane amount of horsepower that vehicle carries. Clearly impressed by the car, Gates took to purchasing a silver Porsche 959, which Porsche were so impressed with that they ended up changing the name of the vehicle to the Porsche Gates 959. Considered by many gearheads to be one of the most incredible cars to ever come out of the German factory, the Porsche Gates 959 is a legend of the motoring world. It comes equipped with a twin-turbo and 6-speed manual transmission, which allows it to reach 0 to 60 in just under 3 seconds. And while the Gates 959 would have cost him about $250,000 when first purchased, it is now considered to be a collector's item, and it can be said to be worth as much as $10 million to the right buyer. Now that's a solid investment. Number 5. His impressive library. Those close to Bill Gates also know that he has a penchant for reading, which shows when he introduces people to his impressive home library packed to the brim with books of every kind you could think of. The 21,000-foot room comes complete with a domed roof and 2 secret bookcases, with one of these leading to a bar that remains hidden until revealed. This is also where you'll find the Codex Leicester displayed safely, which is by far one of the oldest books on the property, stemming from the 16th century. This isn't the only rare book on display though, which brings the total cost of the library to around $60 million. And although the library might be off limits to guests, there's no doubt that Bill spends a lot of his time there. Number 6. The trampoline room. Last but not least, Gates isn't above having some fun with his daughters, which is why he decided to build a trampoline room for them while they were growing up. The room is complete with a number of trampolines of different sizes that have been joined together and separated by padding for safety reasons. Think of it as an indoor gymnastics facility, just so much cooler. The roof is insanely high as well, which means you can easily jump freely without banging your head on any light fixtures or ceiling vents. This is, however, only considered to be a tiny fraction of the exercise facilities available to the Gates family. In fact, the total exercise space consists of around 2,500 square feet and includes a sauna room, basketball court, tennis court, and legendary pool. Suffice it to say, staying active has never been more fun. What do you think of the expensive items Gates has bought? Feel free to let us know in the comments section down below.